What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
There's one person that's a new whistleblower that we have a lead on that might go public.
There seems to be something that they use at the end to tell people like you guys, this is why we can't spill the beans on this topic.
I've had that deep throat moment. I was in the tunnel. And somebody that kind of shocked me, really, came up to me and said, Burchett, said, you really want to do this? You really want to upset this apple cart?
All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, y'all. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we don't have much time left. All right, Vetters, before we begin, I just want to say I just got back from a screening in Scotland to see the first cut of the Psionics documentary, and it's amazing. So it's going to be coming out in 2026, and I'm really excited to share it. And we are going to premiere the trailer for the documentary this Monday, 8 a.m. U.S. Central Time. So be on the lookout. All right, Vetters, so what's this video about today? Well, we have a lot to dig into here because this brand new interview just came out with Representative Eric Burleson, and it's got me thinking. So we're going to go down a nice little rabbit hole today. But first, let's start with this interview from Eric Burleson done by Matt Laszlo with Askapol UAP.
Have you heard back on any of those interrogatories?
We haven't heard back.
No. Are you going to redouble that effort in the new year? Or
We're doing it right now. Like, I'm having my team do a reassessment of like what we've accomplished, where we're at, what things are left to do, or what strings we need to pull. So I'm asking for Grush to kind of put together that end of year, synopsis, because a lot it's just kind of swimming in tons of things.
Is he still going to be understaffed next year? How'd that go?
At this time, we'll be into next year. I don't know how far, but it all depends on if we have other hearings that we need to be prepped for and things like that.
All right, so it looks like first David Grush is going to be putting together an end-of-year wrap-up, if you will, right? Like, where are we? What have we done? What have we accomplished? And what do we have to accomplish? I wonder what that's going to look like, right? And it sounds like Grush is also going to be staying on into next year. Not sure how far, right? So that's interesting. And then what's going to happen once Grush leaves? Like, where is this going exactly, right? That's what I'm really curious about, because this clip, it doesn't get any more optimistic.
I heard a second hearing was in the works at the end of this year, beginning of next.
Potentially. Right now we're focused on getting some people behind, in a skiff, who might feel comfortable talking, who would not be comfortable at this time going public. There's one person that's a new whistleblower that we have a lead on that might go public.
Interesting.
And so we look at that.
Is that... Wait, wanted a minute to skip first. That's
just whatever they feel comfortable with.
So, UFO hearing by the end of the year, huh? We don't have much time left. Just like me trying to get my 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year in 10 days. Probably not going to happen. Granted, I had to take a week off to finish up stuff for the documentary, and I couldn't put out any videos except for the one about the Spielberg trailer, but that's neither here nor there. Things get in the way. Things happen. I can admit it. Happened to me, right? Now, do we really think there's going to be a UFO hearing before the end of the year? No. Next year, maybe. They're kind of talking about it, but again, doesn't really seem like... It's like, you know what I mean? We got a two-legged hamster on this wheel, essentially. And they got a brand new whistleblower that they're talking to who may come out, who's not. I mean, it's just like, what are we talking about? What happened to all those firsthand whistleblowers, right? That was talked about. Just made a video about that, right? All these firsthand that James Fox talked about, that he said he talked to Eric Burleson about back in September. right?
And so, but he's like, Grush is doing like closed hearings.
Oh, 100%. Yes. I talked to Burleson. I talked to Congressman Burleson the other day at the last congressional hearing that I attended. And I was like, did you finally get into a skiff with Grush? He goes, oh, yeah. Yeah, we did. He goes, I walked out of that with a different look on life.
Really?
Yeah. That's just happened. Yeah.
That is fascinating.
So it's happening. It's happening right now. And I remember talking to people that were in the skiff. I guess I could use his name because he's in the movie. Kirk McConnell, Senate Armed Services Committee, investigating UFOs in physical capacity, looking for the crash retrieval program, blah, 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 blah. And he sat in with senators. I know what senators were in the skiff with him, and I know some of the details that were given, and it's like street addresses. This is who has it. This is where it is. This is where the labs are. Yeah, these are the names. I'm working on it myself. I'm down in the lab. First-handers.
Wow.
Maybe 12 so far, maybe more. But people are first-handers, not second. No, my cousin I'm working on it. Yeah.
Looking at the actual retrievals.
I'm working on it with my own hands, yes.
Wow.
And I would think it's somewhere between 7 and 12. I didn't get an exact number on it. That's happening right now.
This stuff is so confusing, right? On where we're at, where we're going, what's happening. And it always falls back on, well, we're being stopped every step of the way. I don't know if that's entirely true. Maybe that's happening. I'm sure, as we're going to get into in this video. But I think there's just a lot of people just don't dedicate a lot of time to this. You know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those things. And it sounds like there's not as many people coming forward as they make it seem like, right? I don't know. It's always everyone else's fault except the people working on this. You know, it's like you got to take some personal responsibility at some point. You know, if I don't get a video out, it's my fault. I can't be blaming this, that, the other. You know, if I don't hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, it's my fault. I didn't put in the time for videos. Yes, I had something else to do, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's my fault, right? So I don't know. It's just very disappointing, especially when you hear this.
I forgot that Need Your Disclosure documentary had an impact, but are any of your other colleagues mentioning it? Or
I was hoping that it would, but no.
Yeah.
It hasn't.
So look, nobody's talking about the Age of Disclosure documentary. Nobody's seen it. Nobody cares, right? This isn't going to bring disclosure, as the director Dan Farah had said, right? And look, I get wanting to make a documentary. It just was part of making one myself. But in no way am I promising that that's going to bring disclosure or truth or this or that or anything, right? You're just setting yourself up to fail, I think, at that point. And now there's going to be a big swing and a miss with this, right? Again, you told everyone to come to the party, and then you offered shit-flavored punch. Nobody wants it, right? Everyone's leaving. You said a DJ was playing, and it's your nephew with the kazoo, right? So, you know, we weren't ready for the party. And I just think, oh man, it's just, look, I want to be optimistic, especially during the holidays. It's Christmas time, right? Let's be optimistic. But I don't know. We're going to start over again in 2026 with the same old, right? When's it going to be the next hearing? Right? Probably again, not till September or next year, a year from now. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see where this goes. But let's continue because it kind of gets worse.
The man you're about to meet has never revealed his identity, his face, his rank, or his name on television before. And he's doing so at great personal risk to him and his family. Now, he spent years in the United States Army working on special classified UFO and space programs. And yes, he's worked on both the moon base and the massive underground ocean bases. So what you're about to see, I believe, could have massive implications for the future of UFO disclosure on many levels, from the advanced technologies that we have in our possession, like those med beds. You remember that Donald Trump even tweeted about these med beds and then he suddenly deleted the tweet? Yeah, they can heal human bodies within hours. Or about those secret bases on the moon. Or what about the secret bases beneath the ocean? Or the aliens that are currently working with our government. So what you're about to see in this interview could move us towards full UFO disclosure.
I mean, are these the type of whistleblowers they're talking about? Because this is the guy right here that, you know, this dude from Redacted is talking with, Clayton Morris. You know, this guy was a part of a secret moon mission. He worked on the moon. He worked in space. I mean, these are these like space mission guys, you know, which I'm probably going to cover this interview because it gets wacky, man. He shows videos, photos of just not very good stuff, to be honest with you, right? And look, I get that it's hard to capture some stuff on camera. I'd experienced that myself. But that could all be forgiven if he just said, well, I saw some things, I took some pictures, I don't know. But no, he went on secret moon missions and secret space missions, probably went to Mars. I mean, what are we talking about? I hope these are not the type of whistleblowers that Eric Burleson is talking to. All right, so look, let's move on because I have some clips from the Weaponized podcast. Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, they sat down with Representative Anna Paulina Luna, Tim Burchett, and Eric Burleson, and some even crazier things were said. And Jeremy Corbell, you know, is going to express some frustrations about trying to kick open some doors, right? And kind of get this moving. But it just, again, it seems like we're just saying the same thing over and over for years.
I mean, I feel like I have a job with Congress from the very first hearing. You know, they made a call to find out what they didn't know. And bam, I worked each time, months at a time with them, just doing hundreds of calls and videos and helping do vetting. So I feel like I've worked a lot with them. I really trust these people. At first, it was just me and Burchett kind of getting our hands dirty. But now with the new task force, so this is the House Oversight Committee's task force on the declassification of federal secrets. And Rep. Luna is the head of that. But she really wanted the others to be with us because they do a lot of work. So Rep. Burleson and Rep. Burchett, you know, look, as you said, we hadn't had hearings in over 50 years. I don't think there's a fatigue on hearings. I want to kind of jump in with my opinion on that. I do hear them saying that they've had a lot of great witnesses, but I do know that they're getting blocked when it has to do with evidence, with footage. They've asked for access to the UAP archives of footage, which we know exists. You and I have been exposed to a lot of that, and they are being denied access to that and subpoena power. They haven't subpoenaed anybody yet. I mean, they've been the champions for disclosure, but the question is, what's the next step forward? Is it just having more people, witnesses, telling them, go look here, go look there? No. The next step is evidence. It's action taken on what they've already heard from people. You dropped so many bombs, specific names. You gave them names of gatekeepers of the UFO programs. They have some work to do where they have to kick open some doors. And I feel like they want to do it, and I feel like they will do it. But I think what you're feeling is something that we felt, a little bit of fatigue. Like you have to kick in doors to make progress on this topic.
So, okay, I get it. You're getting some pushback, right? You're getting some pushback. And Representative Anna Paulina Luna explains.
But I was telling him just about the first hearing that we had. And long story short, you know, we were basically after that pretty aggressive on following up with specifically the Department of War in one area in particular where we were told that a lot of this footage would be housed. And of course, I'll let the other representatives tell you what happened. And I'm sure you can already assume, but we were denied access. So, you know, my thing is this. Look, if you're looking at this from a strictly scientific perspective or strictly defense perspective, and you have members of Congress that are asking to see footage and then they're constantly being denied it, why go through all of this orchestrated effort to block, stonewall, prevent information from coming out if it's not real?
I mean, as I'm going to show later in this video, there could be many reasons you're not allowed to see some of this stuff. But look, maybe there is something there. But the evidence that there isn't anything there, or there's something there because why would they do this? Again, this can't be the reason. This can't be our best evidence. Well, there's no way he's lying. Why would they be giving a pushback on this if there's nothing there? Well, because maybe you're trying to uncover advanced tech that we actually have. You know, and they can't tell you that. Again, as I'm going to show you later in this video. And now, let's move on to underwater UFO bases. Just like that one whistleblower from the Redacted show apparently had worked in some of these. Yeah.
Rep Burchett, so, you've been fighting tooth and nail on this topic, and I know it gets frustrating sometimes. Recently, you've been talking about how you were informed of underwater bases and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Did you find when you were informed about that it came from somebody credible, and is that something that's actionable?
Yeah, I did, actually.
Okay, Mr. Burchett, and look, to be frank, I love Tim Burchett. His personality is right up my alley. Just a good old Southern boy who tells it like it is, right? Admits himself. He gets a little emotional about this, which I can respect. He's a little passionate. I totally respect that. But there's a big part of me that thinks he's just leaning too much into this. But at the same time, I think it's okay to look into this, right? Because he always says, if it's true, this and that. So I do respect that about him. And I think a lot of people just add to him, things that he's saying. So let's just explore some of the things that he's saying. And some of it just could be his lack of knowledge or experience in some of this, right? It's like we expect these Congress people to be scientists too. They're not, right? But let's hear them out.
I've talked to several people, and just the numbers alone, when you're seeing that the sightings are over the ocean, and then you do a little more research, and a lot of these areas are deep water areas. We have 5 or 6 of those. I don't know enough about the ocean, obviously. We know, as they've stated many times, we know more about the surface of the moon than we do the ocean floor. But these things are happening over deep water areas, and we have testimony, and we have people telling us they got on sonar something big as a dadgum football field going 200 miles an hour under the water. I mean, I shoot guns occasionally, but if I'm sitting at the end of the pool, say I've got a 45 and I got a 30-foot pool and I shoot it, it won't even probably make it to the wall the wall of the other side of the pool underwater. I mean, this is something that we don't understand, and yet we've continuously hid this stuff and not put it out to the public. And there's got to be a reason for it. And I don't think it's ours, because we can put something around 30, maybe 40 miles an hour underwater. We probably had something a little faster. But this is something exponentially faster than what we can understand.
You see, this is a perfect example, right? Tim Burchett's example of shooting a gun underwater. I did some research on this myself, and I'm going to introduce you to a word you may not have heard of. Supercavitation. Now, you may be asking, what is that? Don't worry, we're going to get into it. But just to take Tim Burchett's example of exactly, shooting this gun underwater, right? And it barely goes anywhere, whatever. That's a common thing, right? But guess what? This goes back years, by the way. Check out this video. You see, those are supercavitating bullets. And again, we're going to get into exactly what that means. But that bullet is traveling at a high rate of speed.
This supercavitating bullet may seem advanced, but it's actually replicating the design principle of the supercavitating torpedo made by the Soviet Union in the 1970s. While the bullet requires technicality to stabilize and sustain the cavitation bubble, the torpedo maintains supercavitation by internally creating extra bubbles at the nose. Unlike torpedoes that only work underwater, these bullets are multi-environment and can work just fine from air to water, from water to air, from air to air, or from water to water.
Well, there you go, right? This is what they do, and that's just bullets, and this is based off torpedo technology from the 1970s. right? But Tim Burchett just isn't aware of this, right? As I'm going to continue to show.
In 1977, the Soviet Union introduced a torpedo called VA111 Sequel. So what's so special? Normal torpedoes travel at 35 knots or 65 kilometers per hour, but Sequel traveled at 200 knots or 370 kilometers per hour. But how is this possible? Sequel uses the principle of supercavitation. Sequel is launched at normal speed using a propeller. After some time, a rocket accelerates a torpedo to cavitation speed. Now a bubble large enough to cover the entire 26 feet of the torpedo is formed. This bubble insulates the torpedo from drag caused by water, enabling it to travel at 370 kilometers per hour. But sustaining the bubble is difficult, so the range of Sequel is restricted to only 15 kilometers.
Of course they would want to protect this, right? Because our adversaries have this kind of technology. Iran, China, Russia. Again, it's like, if you didn't know, then that's what you would think, right? That's really all it is. Just like back in the day when people would look up at the sun and made it a god, right? Everything was a god thousands and thousands of years ago because we didn't understand the world around us, right? So we assign, the sun god, the cloud god, the this god, the rock god, because we didn't understand. But then we find out, okay, this is just a star, right? A huge star, an energy, but whatever, right? We find out more information, and the god of gaps shrinks. The gaps shrink, right? So essentially that's all this is. It's just the god of gaps applied to human beings. I mean, I don't know everything. Nobody does, right? I mean, Tim Burchett probably knows more than me, but all it takes a little bit of research. But again, he doesn't have the time for this. And the research he's probably doing is just people telling him things, right? But he's never heard of supercavitation. And there are actually things that can go so fast underwater. Imagine what we're working on now. I mean, look at what Korea is working on.
Did they share some of the performance figures with you regarding the torpedo?
ADD showcased here that the speed of the supercavitating underwater vehicle will be 3 to 4 times the traditional speed of the torpedo, which is pretty fast compared to the other weapon systems.
Wow, these are very impressive figures because again, it's for underwater, it's an underwater weapon. To achieve those speeds, the engineer explained to us that there's a pyrotechnic system, both at the front and the back. At the front, it creates bubbles to engulf the torpedo in gas bubbles, in air bubbles, so there's less friction. And at the back, there's a propellant, a rocket motor, pretty much, that pushes the torpedo to achieve the speed.
Yeah, okay. And this is what they're showing at an expo to the public, right? Here's a test of that torpedo underwater. Yeah, the video's short because that is fast. Yeah, there are things that can move extremely fast underwater, more than you would ever think. And you may be thinking, well, yeah, but he's saying things the size of football fields, and that's what people have seen underwater. Okay, but what about submarines? We're probably working on that too. Check this out. Supercavitating submarines are advanced, theoretical, and experimental underwater vehicles designed to travel at extreme speeds, potential exceeding 750 miles an hour, by creating a gas bubble around their hull to dramatically reduce water drag. While currently applied to high-speed torpedoes, applying this to full-size manned submarines faces major engineering and stealth challenges. While not yet in operation for full-sized manned or unmanned submersibles, Chinese researchers are investigating the technology. Yeah, and so are we. Because I remember one time interviewing Nick Pope right when I started Vetted, and he brought up supercavitation. He's like, I got to be careful in that. That's like some classified stuff there.
So again, there's a lot going on, and yeah, these USOs are extremely interesting. And again, to move that fast, I mean, I think we're getting into areas that are probably classified, and I can't go into too much detail, but if people look up the term supercavitation, it's one of the holy grails of Navy folks is supercavitating submarines and torpedoes. Obviously, the water resistance is a
What
big
does that mean?
problem.
What does that word mean?
It's a way of effectively. Well, again, you know what? I better be careful because I don't know how much of this is classified and what isn't. But the unclassified version is simply that it's a way of making, for example, torpedoes go much faster than a conventional torpedo. So it would completely change the balance of power. And when you think that obviously nuclear deterrence depends to a fairly large extent on submarine launched ballistic missiles, it's why anything that impacts on this is of huge interest and potential concern.
Because we've been working on this stuff for a long time. Okay, decades. Again, going back to the 70s, and that means they were developing it probably in the 60s, right? And you don't think we caught on? And you don't think we started to develop some of this stuff? Come on now. And look at this little drawing here of a theoretical supercavitating submersible. Take a closer look at this image. I mean, what does that look like? That kind of looks like a UFO, right? With two people inside, which is kind of interesting. That's head on, right? Like looking at it head on. But anyway, that's kind of interesting. If you saw that coming head on at you, you would think it's a disc underwater, right? I don't know. I'm just saying there are huge things that can move underwater. And I'm sure we're testing this. They're not in operation, right? We're working on this stuff. And of course we want to keep this secret. We don't want anyone to know about this stuff. I mean, look at what NASA just put out. This is happening now. NASA's DiskSat is gearing up to launch into lower Earth orbit. 4 plate-shaped spacecraft will demonstrate a new small spacecraft technology that aims to lower mission costs and expand access to space. They just launched this on December 18th. I mean, it's like they did this on purpose. They put UFOs in the sky. They put flying saucers up in the sky, right? I mean, holy cow, right? Talk about confusing. I just think we're getting very much confused with a lot of stuff that we're developing, right, as a nation, America, and confusing it with UFOs and aliens, right? And that's why they're mixing in drones and this and that, you know. It's like, again, we're here to talk about aliens. I think there is other life out there and potentially has come to Earth, and I want to talk about that, not confusing our own advanced technology with this stuff. I mean, look at what Kristen Gillibrand said, right? It's all the same. Oh, and it doesn't stop there. Remember Palmer Luckey? I showed him on a clip before. He runs a weapons company that he sells to the United States. Okay, he created the Oculus Rift. Really genius guy. Listen to what he's talking about openly. It's not classified with a reporter about cloaking technology.
How far do you think we are from invisibility cloaks and masking? And I don't mean by radar. And
sure.
That,
you mean like
physically,
visible
like
spectrum?
Visible, yes. Yeah.
That's actually a lot easier.
You think so?
Oh yeah, way easier.
Really?
It's a lot harder to hide from synthetic systems. So if you're talking about like radars or lidars, people are actually relatively easy to fix. You know, Anduril has a project going way back, building optical camouflage for the Ghost helicopter drone that we make. And it's essentially a projection system. It looks at where the target is, knows where you are, looks behind you, and it calculates the luminance and color values that you would need to match whatever is between your target you're surveilling and the background. So that might be the sky, that might be a mountain, it might be a cloud. It's not that hard, and our eyes don't have very good resolution. You know, Ghost has a very narrow frontal cross section. And so it was actually designed partly to make itself very workable with optical camouflage. So building drones that are invisible to the human eye at the ranges that you're using them, it's not just like a hypothetical. Anduril did this in like 2019, 2020. So this is a Ghost drone, just the body of it without the landing gear attached. And we put it up on this tripod and we're testing it against the truck and then also the sky.
That's
see how you can
crazy.
see this ever so slight disturbance?
Yeah.
And see how it's perfect and it lines up. You'll see how the body is also copying the truck as well.
Right.
So in this case, it was turned off. Then we turn it on. So it has to have part of itself be the sky, part of it be the truck. It's a very, very difficult high contrast problem to do both at the same time. If you're all in the air, it's even easier. The point is, visible spectrum optical camouflage is actually quite easy, but something like this would be trivially easily seen by, an infrared camera, thermal camera, LiDAR, radar. So the biggest problem with optical camouflage, and the main reason you don't see a lot of money being put towards it in the modern defense space, is it's not actually that useful. It's useful against human adversaries who do not have any other technology to aid them. And those are not really the enemies the United States is focused on stopping these days. So, like, for example, you might notice Ghost doesn't come with optical camouflage. All of our customers have been briefed on this. They've seen this. Their point is, Palmer, I'm not going up against a bunch of guys, who are walking around with their naked eyes and nothing else. We are concerned about adversaries like Russia and China and Iran that are armed with very, very high levels of technology. And if anything, the optical camouflage in some ways actually makes it easier to spot.
Yeah. Now, let's get back to George, Jeremy, Burchett, Burleson, Luna. See what they have to say.
Representative Burchett, we heard you say in another interview that you pretty much know where at least 5 of these bases are and that you know why they're in that spot. Is it something beyond it's deep and it's hidden, or is there some other reason where these USO bases might be where you believe they are?
I think it's deep, it's hidden, and I think some people know about it. If in fact they exist, I think they do.
If in fact they exist, and I appreciate him being honest with that, and I appreciate him saying, I think they do. Okay, this is a conversation we can have, right? Everyone can say what they think, but we need to start moving into what we know, right? That conversation, and separate what we think from what we know.
And I've talked to too many people, and it just seems to me that with the science that we have in our limited brain's capability, that something traveling light years is just beyond our grasp. So to me, it makes more sense that if there is something out there, that they would have to be something based in an area. Now, where the heck are they going to base it? They're not going to base it in Knoxville, Tennessee, or New York City, or, even in the Amazon, because with satellite capabilities. But these deep, it just stand to reason that deep water would be where it was at.
All right, so I understand his logic here, right? He's basically saying if they were going to be anywhere, they would be underwater to stay, hidden, essentially. But again, they're advanced. They would have cloaking technology, right? We have stuff, right? So it just seems that can't be the reason why you think that's where it is, right? Again, he thinks this. He doesn't know this. And that's where it all comes from. All these people think this. But the game of telephone, it starts to change from I think to I know that these bases, underwater UFO bases, exist. Nobody knows that. They just all think that. And what evidence has led to that? Some sightings here or there. But again, I've already proven that there are things out there that can move extremely fast underwater, more than you would ever think or know. And that's just what's publicly available. Imagine what we don't have publicly available, and other countries, stuff they're testing, stuff that we have that you'll never know about. You think if someone sees something, has a sighting and says, I saw you, we're going to come out and go, no, that wasn't a USO underwater, right? A UFO underwater. That was our advanced technology that we were trying to keep secret. But we didn't want you to spread that story, so we right? The government doesn't care if people come out and talk about UFOs. Go ahead. Say all you want. That's how all these books get approved, and this gets approved through DOPSR and all of that, right? For public release, because they don't care, because it's not real or classified, right? Maybe some of it's real. I don't know. It's so hard to tell because you do hear some interesting stories, right? And there are credible people that come out and talk about this, far more credible than me or anybody, I get it. But that's not enough, right? But again, there are some interesting things.
An admiral who stood right here in my office. I remember right before he went out that door, which was kind of unusual because you guys have been in my office. Everybody walks in the regular door, but he wanted to go out the side door. And then as I was walking him out, he wanted to avoid anybody. He said to me, just looked at me straight in the eye and said, Tim, these things are real.
I think I know who that admiral is, potentially. Sounds like Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who has testified. But again, the interesting thing about him is he would say so many other things on podcasts or other things, Twitter, whatever, and then once he testified, he didn't bring up 80% of it. It's like, wait a second, why didn't you bring all this up when you were testifying under oath? Because again, they don't know. They just think this.
And I said, look, I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm just saying that this is statistically where this stuff has happened. So immediately what happens is guys like me and Burleson get made fun of when we come forward with something like this. But here I am at a dadgum Christmas party last night. Nobody asked me about Obamacare. Nobody asked me about the border. Three people, and these are educated people, come up to me and say, hey, brother, what's the story on these UFOs? Or they say, I'm a believer. I saw something. I can't explain it. And they say, thank you. I'm walking through the dadgum airport, Washington, D.C., and I turn, and this rather large man walks up to me and says, and I won't say what department he worked for, but he was in the intelligence, and he looked at me straight in the eye and said, are they real? And I said, I believe they are. He said, dadgummit, I knew it. And
again, these are interesting anecdotes, and people want to know because it's interesting. You're getting out and you're talking about it, and of course, they shouldn't be made fun of, right? I get that. But of course, people are interested. They're kind of curious, just like everybody is, right? But at the end of the day, curiosity will only take you so far. Proof is going to be needed.
Has anyone come to you and said, look, there's a good reason this has been a secret for so long? You know, we've had other presidents have expressed interest in it, other members of Congress over the decades. There seems to be something that they use at the end to tell people like you guys, this is why we can't spill the beans on this topic.
I've had that deep throat moment, you know, the moment where the Nixon thing where they come to you in an area, you know, and I always heard they always use somebody you know that's close to you. And I've had that moment. I was in the tunnel, and somebody that kind of shocked me, really, came up to me and said, Burchett, said, do you really want to do this? You really want to upset this apple cart? And said that how it could affect, you know, religion and all this other stuff. And, you know, and I go back to Moskowitz. I don't know if y'all remember Jared Moskowitz in one of the opening press conferences. Jared, I'm jealous of his brain because he's got I mean, we don't agree politically on a lot of things, but his brain is incredible. And he said, you know, the arrogance of these people thinking that we can't handle this.
I mean, all right. I guess if I'm Tim Burchett, I would also take that seriously, right? But is that what really makes him think, oh, there's got to be some here? Otherwise, why would that guy say that to me, right? I really want to know who that is. And what evidence or proof did he provide him besides just telling him this story? I mean, don't you think this is going to, right? I don't know. But look, Jared Moskowitz, I agree, is someone very sensible in this, as I agree all these people are, okay? I think they all believe in this and really want to see something happen, and they think there's something there. I'm all for them looking into this, okay? I don't want to seem like a negative Nancy here. I am happy that they're looking into it. And look, I found that clip that Tim Burchett is talking about of Jared Moskowitz at a press conference, and this is what he said.
Are we okay with the federal government keeping information from the American people because they're trying to prevent us from having anxiety on all sorts of issues? I mean, if they can do it here, what else are we going to give them authority to not tell the American people because they're interested in controlling and keeping us in a bubble? I mean, that's a scary thought that they don't trust us, that the universe is a big place. I mean, everyone learns about that in school, right? The universe is a big place. Our solar system is a big place. We're learning about solar systems far beyond. And so the idea that the human brain can't tolerate that there might be life somewhere else, I just don't accept that. And at the end of the day, I think the hearing is really about real life accounts from reliable people, and as the technology is getting better, our technology is getting better, we're now capturing these things on our handheld devices. And why is the military and the government not just being honest with us? Why are they overclassifying it? Why aren't they being transparent?
And I agree. Well said. All right. And Jared Moskowitz has also said this.
And in a day in which it's really hard to tell what's true or not from a political standpoint. And so I don't really know what is true. I don't know on this subject. But I do know when we're being lied to. And we are definitely being lied to. There's just no doubt about that.
Right? And that's something I can agree with. It's sensible. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but people are lying. Right? So we got to find out what this is. We have to find out what this is. It could be our own advanced tech they're trying to hide. It could be they spent money other ways wrongly. There could be just corruption. I mean, it's the government. There's clearly corruption. And the further and deeper you dig, I'm sure you're just running into corruption. It doesn't mean aliens. But it could mean something we do need to uncover either way, right? I've always said, no matter the outcome of this stuff should be looked into. So I do support us looking into it. I just want to be careful not to assume this is aliens. You put all your eggs in one basket in trying to get disclosure so you can find out if ETs are real on this planet or just in general, you might be disappointed, right? That's why I support citizen disclosure. That's why I did the documentary, right? Go out and meet with real people who are allegedly connecting with this phenomena. Let's go that route. That's where I find there will be more fruitful conclusions, let's say.
I've had some amazing conversations. A lot of people that won't come forward are some of the most amazing conversations. Whether they have their story is that they worked for a contractor of a contractor of a contractor, right? And they were basically working in some way or touched this topic, encountered a UAP directly. I've spoken to people who the intelligence community has a level of credible belief that they have the ability to talk to, like mentally talk to, some kind of entities. That was a conversation in my office that I'll never forget. I'm not saying that I believe everybody that I talk to, but what I do believe is the people that come forward and the people that I do talk to, they believe what they've experienced. And I don't think that, at the end of the day, that's why I'll meet with anybody, pretty much anybody. And when you get involved in this topic, you guys know this, there's so many factions in the UAP community that you'll have people say, well, you can't talk to that person. You can't trust them. And they're, X, Y, Z. That's not the way I operate. I will talk to you. Because if somebody has a beef with another person, I don't have the beef, right, with the other person. So I'm going to talk to them and I'm going to listen. I'm going to take them seriously, but I'm also going to try to keep that information and kind of, ascertain what can you truly investigate to verify what they're saying. And what's the truth. Right. And so, I do believe that a lot of people coming forward are true patriots, and they have seen something that they can't explain. Now, I do think that sometimes people do jump to conclusions often, and I've come to the conclusion that if this is real, if it truly is UAP, it's probably, and we all have to recognize this, that 99.9% of the photos, the videos, the interactions people have are probably not something extraterrestrial. And it doesn't mean that maybe that 1% truly is, but I think that we have to recognize the fact that I think Elon Musk was probably right in that if aliens do exist, they're pretty subtle. I think that they're pretty good at hiding themselves.
Yeah.
That is such a sensible answer from Eric Burleson. I mean that. I pretty much agreed with everything he just said there, right? I think that's it. That's the clip. That's the approach. Definitely. Let's talk to everybody. You got a beef with this guy. I mean, I know that that's happening. You got all this crap. happening in the UFO community. And that's what people should push for, right? People in the UFO community, stop fighting, stop beefing, stop all this bullshit, right? Stop all this guy, you can't trust this guy, that guy, this, that, the other, and all this nonsense. All the gatekeeping that happens, you get all these people in the UFO communities, I got knowledge, but I'm not going to release it. What? I thought they were gatekeeping. Now you're gatekeeping, right? It's like, but such a sensible way to approach it. Listen to everybody, take it all in. Let's see what's going on. But how much time do you really give to that, right? Especially when you think 99.9% of it is just bullshit. Not bullshit, but just not aliens, right? That's just something we're going to have to admit. And I agree. I think a lot of this stuff is just our own advanced tech, but nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to admit their story isn't the one that's real. I don't know. Mine's real. Maybe yours isn't, but mine's real, right? It would be great to see people come out and go, you know what? I got it wrong. I thought it was this, but it's actually this. We can start really narrowing it down. But people aren't going to want to do that, especially when they say they can mentally talk to aliens, which that's what I went and explored in my documentary, which you'll get to see the trailer for this Monday, right? I explored that topic, not from government officials, but just your average everyday people. So maybe there's something there, but maybe not from some of these people. I don't know, right? And UFOs and all of this, what are people really seeing, right? But I definitely think this is just a sensible approach from Eric Burleson. Honestly, I really appreciated that answer. All right, betters, so that's it for today's video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Remember, I do think there's something to this phenomena. I'm just not so confident in some of these people that are looking into it from the government and going to these Congress people and telling them all these stories and these whistleblowers and all this. Remember, like Eric Burleson said, I probably the mass majority of them, nothing to do with ETs. But like I always say, we just need one case to be true, right? So let's keep digging. We got to roll up our sleeves, keep our heads on a swivel. Let's see what we come up with. All right, betters, we'll see you in the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live on Catalina Island. It was about 30 years ago. I was on the backside of the island, camping one night, about 3 in the morning. Saw a bunch of lights flying towards San Clemente across the sky real fast. And then I seen them drop into the ocean, and they turned all different colors, like neon red, neon green, neon yellow. And I was tripping out on it. And then all of a sudden, from about 20 miles away, one flew right up on me in a matter of seconds, or a second. And I just looked at it, and I didn't even know what to make of it. It looked like a jet, because I could see something sitting in the pilot's seat, but I don't know. Later.